This representation of their 7 years happy life and everything we see on Instagram, do we get the idea that the life is good out there for the Sussexes?
They walked away from royalty to chase freedom, but now the picture-perfect image is starting to fracture. A single moment at a concert sparks global suspicion. A quiet return to Instagram ignites a firestorm. Projects meant to inspire begin to fall flat. And behind the scenes, whispers grow louder. Has Prince Harry lost himself completely? What you're about to see isn't just a PR misstep. It could be the beginning of their most dramatic unraveling yet. The couple went to Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour stop in Los Angeles in May 2025. Meghan later posted a bunch of pictures and videos from the night on Instagram. The post was happy and light, with smiling people and a short message thanking Beyonce and her team for the chance. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex seemed to be having a great time on their date. In the pictures, Meghan was moving and having fun at the show, and Harry was standing next to her in the crowd. People were most interested in a short video clip in which Harry leans in to kiss Meghan on the cheek. Some people saw what they thought was a slight change in Meghan's facial expression as she seemed to react. The video was played back, slowed down, and analyzed frame by frame on social media. Some people thought she pulled away a little or looked nervous, while others didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Meghan only wanted to share a happy and calm moment, but the video was quickly shared on many platforms, starting a lot of conversations. Some people said that Harry didn't seem interested or excited in the clip. Some people said Meghan's answers seemed guarded. It's hard to know what either of them was thinking at that very moment, and most of what people said was based on their own ideas rather than facts. Still, the video went popular, and talk about it spread very quickly. Online comments started to change and go beyond just talking about the live videos. People began to wonder if this short moment showed something deeper, if it showed a tension between the pair that they hadn't seen before. The argument wasn't just about private comments either. Bloggers, online news sources, and influencers started to write about the story. They often used the same few seconds of footage to draw conclusions about Meghan and Harry's relationship. The event brings to light a trend the couple has seen over and over again over the years. Every time they're seen in public, like at a royal event, the launch of a show, or a social media post, they are closely watched. People are naturally interested in public figures, but the amount of detail that is looked at in Meghan and Harry's private moments is very high. This time, even a small move that seemed affectionate at a concert became a hot subject. It's clear that people still have very different opinions about the pair. Some people see Meghan and Harry as a break from old norms and a more modern, independent way of being in public. Others, especially critics, think that the way they show themselves is too planned. This split makes it so that almost every post or appearance is seen through the lens of either strong support or deep suspicion. In this case, the Beyonce show should have been a good news story. Meghan and Harry were seen in public, going to a big culture event. They looked calm. Meghan hadn't been on Instagram much in the past few years, and this was one of her more personal posts since she stopped being a princess. There was no news release about it, and it wasn't an official appearance. From what I could tell, it was just a normal night out. That being said, questions came up right away. Someone asked why there weren't any pictures of Beyonce herself. Many people have said that Meghan was close with the singer, but why were there no private photos or group selfies? These questions added to the idea that the post was carefully planned and not really honest. Of course, there's no proof that such a meeting happened or not behind the scenes. There is a good chance that the couple decided to keep some parts of the evening private. But once more, guesses filled in the blanks where there was no information. As is common after a popular event, memes and parodies appeared right away. Some TikTok users made videos that looked like the original, and some added dramatic music or comments to make it seem like Meghan wasn't interested in Harry's move. All of this wasn't based on real events, but it added to the story that something was wrong. If you've been following the couple in the news, you know that a small event turns into a headline, then a theory, and finally a full-blown discussion. It's also important to understand how these stories are shaped by social media. In the past, a royal pair going to a concert might have been barely mentioned in a newspaper or on TV. But now, material can be captured, edited, and shared across platforms right away. Millions of people can watch the same facial expression or body action over and over again. In that setting, popular figures like Meghan and Harry can have their actions interpreted in any way, even if the actions don't seem important. More than that, Meghan and Harry have always had trouble keeping their public image in check. Since they stopped being royal in early 2020, they've been trying to find a new place in the public eye through charity work, media projects, and personal advocacy. Even though they try hard, they are still the subject of strong public opinion, whether it's support or criticism. The response to the Beyonce concert post shows a bigger problem that they've been dealing with for years: the conflict between public life that is carefully planned and the need for sincerity. Some people didn't trust Meghan's Instagram post because they thought it wasn't real. Others thought it was polished and positive. Fans still wanted to see something raw, even though there wasn't an organized event going on and it was meant to be casual. When they didn't, theories were used to fill in the blanks. To be fair, there aren't any clear signs of trouble in any of the videos or pictures from that night. Meghan and Harry were seen at a show by one of the biggest artists in the world, dressed casually and surrounded by other concertgoers. Harry's facial reactions were neutral to mild, which is normal when there are a lot of people around. Meghan, on the other hand, smiled and moved to the music, which is also normal behavior at a show. Most likely, nothing bad happened to the couple all night. The post didn't become a hotspot until after it went live. What you should take away from this episode isn't exactly about Meghan and Harry's relationship, but about the world they live in. As well-known people, their every move is watched closely. The reactions can be huge even when they don't do anything public and just talk about something normal, like going out for the night. Not only does this make me wonder about them, but also about how people treat celebrities these days. The post got a lot of attention right away. In just one day, almost 800,000 people started following Meghan's account. There were a lot of people who were happy to see her come back. Meghan hadn't been on social media since early 2020, when she and Prince Harry stopped being senior royals. When she came back, it seemed like the start of a new chapter, one that might focus on personal stories, lifestyle material, and being able to talk directly to her audience. Different responses started to happen almost right away, though. People on social media and watchers who had paused the video started pointing out what they thought was an important detail that had been missed. They saw that there was already a faint 2025 drawn in the sand in the wide shot, only a few feet away from the one Meghan makes on camera. At first look, it wasn't very clear, but once it was found, the internet did what it always does. It zoomed in, played the video over and over, and talked about it from every angle. This was seen by some as proof that the video had been made and practiced. Some comments made it sound like the moment had been shot more than once to get it just right, which made people wonder how real the post really was. Some watchers had doubts about the post because it seemed spontaneous and symbolic, but there was a pre-written message in it. That normally wouldn't be enough to cause backlash, but for Meghan Markle, whose public image has been heavily criticized for a long time, it made her already complicated relationship with the internet even worse. It wasn't the only thing that made people angry. People who looked also saw that the comment area wasn't working. This happens a lot when famous people want to avoid being trolled or harassed, but it stood out in this case because the platform was being brought back as a place for people to meet and express themselves. Some people said that without comments, there was only broadcasting and not real conversation. Others said it was the right choice by saying that Meghan had been bullied online before and that public criticism had hurt her and her family greatly in the past. As the days went by, people started to wonder about things other than the beach film, like what Meghan's return might mean for her public image as a whole. It was said that her team had been working on media projects and brand relationships, and the Instagram launch was probably timed to fit in with these plans. People in the industry thought that the new account could help with new products or content projects in the future. Lifestyle posts, recipes, and health and wellness posts were talked about. Early talks also included working together with sustainable and ethical fashion brands. Publicly, nothing was proven. but people were getting more and more excited. Then there was Mother's Day in 2025. Meghan wrote another post, but this one was much more personal. She was holding her two kids, Archie and Lilibet, in the picture. The picture was taken inside, in soft light, and seemed to show a sweet moment between a mother and her children. The caption was sweet and showed that she understood the joy and duty of being a mother. She talked about how much she loved being a mom and thanked her kids for giving her a reason to live. Even though the post was meant to be personal and sincere, the public was interested in some specifics. People who were really paying attention were able to figure out what clothes Archie was wearing in the picture. They were made by La Lean NY, a brand from New York that is known for making stylish, simple clothes. It was thought that the pants, which were part of a limited edition set, would cost around $61, about $75 USD. Even though the choice wasn't outrageously expensive in terms of high-end fashion, it caused a lot of discussion online. Some people didn't like how the pajama's price and brand name went against the message of being real or approachable. They said that showing a little kid in expensive pajamas didn't hit the right tone, especially since the point of going back to Instagram was to connect with a bigger audience. Some people thought the picture looked staged instead of real. People who supported Meghan, on the other hand, said that celebs often wear and give away high-quality clothes, and that Meghan has long been linked to fashion and style as an actress and public figure. They said that the tone of the post, not the name of the pajamas, should have been the main focus. It's interesting that people also talked about what wasn't said in the post. Meghan's message talked about how happy she was to be a mom, but it didn't say anything about her own mom, Doria Ragland, who has always been there for her. Some saw this as a missed chance to add something more to the message, like an honor to her own mother. But there isn't a set way to write Mother's Day messages. What is included, or left out, may just depend on the writer's preference or tone. Even though there were a lot of different interpretations and reactions, Meghan did not publicly reply to the feedback. No one said anything about the post staying on her page. This way of doing things has become more normal for her. She usually doesn't clarify or argue in public. Instead, she lets the posts speak for themselves and goes on with her planned material or activities. When looked at together, the beach video and the Mother's Day post show how tricky it is for Meghan to be Meghan in this digital world. On the one hand, she has a big following around the world who are interested in her story, her beliefs, and her life. On the other hand, almost every post is looked at very closely, and watchers try to figure out what people meant by posting based on very little information. It's not just Meghan's problem, it's made worse by her fame and the fact that everyone is still interested in her life. There's also the bigger question of how people think about trustworthiness online. For many users, especially younger ones, realism means pictures that haven't been edited, moments that happen on the spot, and flaws that haven't been fixed. Meghan's writing, on the other hand, is often clean, well-lit, and carefully put together. Some people think this is beautiful and inspiring, while others think it's cold or too carefully chosen. This difference makes it hard for expectations and performance to match up, especially when famous people try to seem more approachable. Still, Meghan's return to Instagram was a big deal. It was her way of consciously getting back into public life on her own terms. She has full power over these posts, unlike royal events or joint statements. She picks what to share, how to present it, and when it shows up. This level of control is helpful, especially after years of news stories that put her at the center of rumors or problems. The show With Love Meghan was meant to include home cooking, personal stories, health routines, and special guests. Promotional materials and news stories before the show came out said that it was shot in a farmhouse in the country, giving viewers a look at a relaxed family life. Meghan was portrayed as a friendly host who led the viewers through easy recipes, conversations, and thoughts on daily life. During the series, famous people like her longtime friend Abigail Spencer and actress Mindy Kaling were set to join her, making the show feel more personal and familiar. The first reactions to the series were very expected, especially since it came after Harry and Meghan, the couple's hugely popular Netflix documentary from 2022, which had millions of views and a lot of public discussion. However, With Love, Meghan got mixed reviews right away after it came out. Some critics, like those at Vogue and The Independent, said the show looked great but didn't make them feel anything. Reviewers said that the show lacked the kind of real, unfiltered writing that many viewers had hoped to see. The visuals were praised for their style and elegance. The audience agreed with these feelings. Some viewers liked how calm and stylish the show was, comparing it to a comfort watch type that is meant to be watched quickly rather than in depth. Some viewers were disappointed, saying that the show felt too staged and didn't reveal much about Meghan's personal life or character that hadn't been carefully shown in previous performances. It was talked about on social media whether the show was trying too hard to make an image instead of telling a story. Along with the Netflix show, Meghan started a podcast in April 2025 called Confessions of a Female Founder. It was made in collaboration with Lemonade Media and was about the personal stories of women who started their own businesses. Each show had a different guest, ranging from small business owners to well-known names, who talked about how they got started in business. Meghan was both a host and a contributor, and she sometimes talked about how she built her lifestyle brand, As Ever, which she quietly started earlier this year. The show was meant to give people power, motivation, and a place to talk openly about business, leadership, and goals. Meghan started the series with a statement about wanting to bring attention to the real problems women face, such as balancing work and family life, getting funds, and dealing with bias. The production value was high, and the show started out in the top 20 on Apple Podcasts in both the US and UK. The structure, flow, and tone made it seem like it had been carefully planned and written by a professional. But just like her Netflix show, the podcast started to fall in the rankings a few weeks after it came out. Chart tracking shows that Confessions of a Female Founder dropped out of the top 100 on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify in just 1 month. Online reviews had a few common complaints. Some said the show lacked the depth they thought it would have based on its idea, and others said Meghan's interviews sometimes sounded scripted instead of natural. People also had concerns about the high-profile guests like Beyonce and Taylor Swift that had been teased before the show started but never showed up in the first few episodes. By the middle of 2025, the responses to both projects showed a similar theme. Even though a lot of money, time, and effort went into them, the link between Meghan's brand and her audience seemed unclear. Analysts and critics in the media industry said it's getting harder and harder to keep people interested just by making presentations look good. People today want material that feels natural, personal, and open, which wasn't always clear in Meghan's carefully controlled tone. In the public eye, Prince Harry was changing in more subtle but still obvious ways, while Meghan was figuring out how to build her own personal media brand. People who knew Harry well and had known him for a long time said that he seemed less close than in the past. Some of Harry's old friends told GB News and other news outlets that he had changed a lot in how he behaved himself. He wasn't the lively, friendly person who was often seen at rugby games or on group vacations. Instead, he was said to have become quieter, more reflective, and highly focused on personal growth and wellness routines. People who knew him in the British service or in his 20s, when he was known for his cheeky sense of humor and willingness to act on the spot in public, said he was almost unrecognizable now. This didn't mean he was less friendly. It just meant he seemed more careful, in control, and hesitant to interact with people in relaxed or unplanned social situations. People close to him say that the change was probably caused by a mix of things, including constant attention from the media, problems in his family, and a lifestyle that became more and more shaped by organized wellness practices and planned public appearances. Harry has worked on a number of projects related to mental health and mindfulness, such as with BetterUp, a coaching platform he started in 2021 as Chief Impact Officer. Even though he still strongly supports treatment and open conversations about mental health, this has led some to wonder if his focus on self-reflection has made him less close to the people he used to be close to. Even though there isn't a confirmed conflict, people who were quoted in the news have said they are worried that Harry's new life might be making him more alone than connecting him with others. After all of these changes, Harry has still been seen in public from time to time, mostly at official events or to support good causes. However, he has been seen less often and in more dangerous situations when he does show up. No longer does he make jokes and have fun in public, which used to define who he was. Instead, there is a calmer, more formal attitude that is often used to promote health and fitness. All of these events show that the couple is very dedicated to creating meaningful, values-based material, while also figuring out how to work in a media landscape that is changing quickly. Meghan's projects show how she wants to connect with people through stories, happiness, and strength. You can see Harry's change as a reflection of your own growth and change, even if it means leaving behind some old friends and habits. It's common for people to change as their lives do, especially when they move from one country to another, have kids, or start jobs that aren't traditional. The hard part for Meghan and Harry seems to be making sure that their changing public identities are in line with what their fans want. Content that isn't just beautiful or inspiring, but also real, unplanned, and emotionally powerful. One problem the couple always had was how other people saw them. Every move they made, from their choice to step down from royal duties to their appearances in the media and business deals, seemed to be carefully thought out. The scrutiny didn't just happen in standard media outlets, it also happened on social networks, forums, and podcasts, places where ideas and reactions can spread quickly and strongly. As the year went on, the question of authenticity came up again and again. It had always been there for Meghan and Harry, but in 2025 it got even stronger. People on social media, both active and inactive, started to wonder if the couple's carefully chosen posts and polished looks really showed what their real lives were like. For many, their public image, photos with great lighting, practice talks, and a string of well-timed launches, felt more and more disconnected from what most people go through in their daily lives. There wasn't always bad will behind this feeling. A lot of people who liked Meghan and Harry said they wanted to see more of their real selves, not less. But the things they shared often showed things that were almost perfect. A stylized beach walk with a picture that makes you feel good. Some well-planned cooking time on Netflix. A podcast telling the story of a business owner who did well. These times were meant to inspire, boost, and calm people down, but they also had the potential to make things more distant. For people who want to connect with the presenter, the glossy show might seem distant. When Meghan started using Instagram again, this problem became more clear. Even though her return was seen as a new beginning, some of her posts caused arguments over their tone and meaning. For example, an ode to Mother's Day got a lot of attention for both its moving message and small details, like Prince Archie's designer pajamas. There's nothing wrong with kids wearing expensive clothes, especially if they come from a famous and wealthy family, but it did show how tricky it was for Meghan to balance showing off her personal life with not seeming up to date. These changes happened in places other than social media. In her Netflix show, With Love, Meghan, Meghan cooked, set the table, and thought about the things she does every day. The goal of the show, which had famous guests and stylized shooting, was to make people feel warm and calm. Some reviewers, though, thought it focused too much on looks and not enough on content. Some watchers said that the show was calm, but it lacked emotional depth or spontaneity. At times, it looked like everything had been practiced or set up to make a certain image. In the same way, Meghan's show, Confessions of a Female Founder, gave people a chance to be heard who might not have been heard otherwise. She talked about what it was like for her to try to build a brand in the public eye and met a wide range of female entrepreneurs. It got the same kind of bad reviews, even though the idea sounded good and it did well at the beginning on the podcast charts. People who listened said that the production value was good, but that the talk sometimes felt too scripted or promotional. People wanted to be more involved and not just talk about their wins. They also wanted to be more open about their failures and weaknesses. Meghan's problem wasn't that she didn't have any stories to share or places to do so. It was the way the words were often said. which felt controlled, polished, and careful. That might make sense, given how closely people have been watching her since she became famous. But it also put a wall between her and the people who used to see her as a refreshing and approachable figure. At the same time, Prince Harry was less visible in public. He was still involved in a number of charitable and political activities, especially through the Invictus Games and his work with mental health groups, but he didn't show up as often or as loudly as he had in the past. Reports said that Harry had become more self-aware and had chosen to focus on health and self-reflection. According to news reports, his longtime friends said he had changed a lot from the lively, fun-loving person they used to know. Harry had also been having problems with his family, especially with his brother, Prince William. There was some hope that William and his father, King Charles III, could get along again, but insiders said that the relationship between the two stayed tense. No public talks had been confirmed, and there were no signs that the rift was getting better. Many people saw Meghan as a big part of this split, not necessarily as the cause, but as a sign of how Harry's old life and the one he chose were different. The public wasn't just talking about one couple's media decisions during this whole thing. It was about what people look for in the people they follow these days. Authenticity has become very important, especially in the digital world where a lot of material is chosen and filtered. People need to know they are seen and heard. Many people want to think that even famous people have the same problems, awkward moments, and flaws as everyone else. There is still a way for Meghan and Harry to move forward in the public eye. There are still a lot of people who want them to do well and hope they find their groove in this new stage. But it does mean that the way things are done might need to change. Not always in terms of style or image, but in being open about being weak, owning up to mistakes, and embracing being flawed. For Meghan, that might mean talking about the times when things don't go as planned, like when the kitchen is a mess, the recipe doesn't work, or being a parent is too much to handle in one day. For Harry, it might mean getting back to the freedom and humor that made people love him in the first place. This is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of kindness. Keep in mind that how people see things is not always the same. Many famous people have gone through periods of harsh criticism only to get more support after changing how they show themselves. Openness, humility, and honest conversation can help people trust and connect with each other again. The decisions Meghan and Harry make in 2025 will be very important. Their influence will still be felt whether they stay on the current road or choose to open up in new ways. Their story has always been more than just royal rumors. It has been a way for people to think about identity, privacy, desire, and how hard it is to be famous in the digital world. The questions people have about Meghan and Harry aren't just about them in the end. They show a bigger cultural moment. When every picture is edited, what does it mean to be real? How can we connect with other people when computers show our lives? But how do public figures balance the need for privacy with the public's assumption that they will be open? These aren't simple questions, but we should look into them. Since most people aren't really looking for perfection, they're just looking for something real. And if Meghan and Harry can do that, they might find that people are still watching, listening, and ready to believe their story.